The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the modest dwelling in Rome where an aging man sat with a young disciple. The year was approximately 76 AD, and the Christian community in the imperial capital was small, vulnerable, and living under the constant threat of persecution. The old man's name was Linus, and though history would remember him as the second pope of Rome, in that moment he was simply a shepherd tending his flock with quiet determination. "Teacher," the young man asked, "how do you bear the weight of following after Peter himself? Everyone speaks of his boldness, his miracles, his transformation. How can anyone walk in such footsteps?" Linus smiled gently, the lines around his eyes deepening with warmth. It was a question he'd heard before, whispered in the doubts of many who looked to him for leadership. "My son," he replied, "Peter was the rock, yes. But the church is not built on spectacle alone. It is built stone by stone, day by day, through the faithful witness of ordinary people doing extraordinary things in quiet ways." Born in Tuscany, Linus had been shaped by the rolling hills and agricultural rhythms of rural Italy. Unlike Peter, the bold fisherman who had walked with Jesus himself, Linus came to the faith through the testimony of others, through Paul's preaching perhaps, or through the gentle witness of early believers who carried the gospel beyond Jerusalem's walls. He possessed no dramatic conversion story. He performed no miracles that caused the crowds to gasp. He wrote no epistles that would be preserved for millennia. Yet when Peter faced martyrdom under Nero's persecution around 64 AD, it was Linus whom the apostle chose to continue the work of shepherding the Roman Church. "Why me?" Linus had asked Peter in those final dangerous days when being a Christian leader in Rome meant accepting a death sentence as part of the job description. Peter had placed his weathered hands on Linus's shoulders. "Because you understand what I took so long to learn. Leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the steady presence when everything is falling apart." And so began 12 years that history would barely record. 12 years that would prove Peter's wisdom beyond measure.